Hey everybody. So today we're going to work on setting up our camera rig and lighting for the model display video that you just saw. It's pretty simple. This is by no means a perfect setup, and ultimately it depends on your use case. So don't think this is the end all be all, but it's what works for me and makes pretty clean videos. So you go in, you have all of your textures set up the way you want them. Everything looks good. Stuff on the side, so let me just set these back up real quick. Good. All right, so all your textures are set up. Everything looks good. Looks like it's nice and clean. Now you're ready to make your render. So first thing you want to do, go into your layout. Go ahead, Shift A, add your camera here. Next thing you want to do, go to your top view, Shift A again, mesh. You're going to just bring in a circle and then scale your circle up. You want your circle not to be that big. You want it to be roughly in the same position as where your camera is. It doesn't have to be, but that's how I do it. Works pretty well. So don't fix it if it ain't broken. Then I bring it up about halfway in between. Control A, add your scale. And then from here, you want to convert this circle to a curve. Now you could have done this with a Bezier curve and skipped a step, but this works just fine too. All right, so you have your circle brought in, your camera's set up, everything's looking good. And then what you want to do is click on your camera, go to your constraints, add object constraint, you're going to do follow path. The reason you made this into a curve is so you could select it as the target for the follow path. Do your follow curve, then you're going to press animate. You can see our camera's moved. Then as you click through these different axes, it'll tell you what your thing is. But for me, it works perfectly fine. So if we go into our camera view, now that it's moved, you're gonna want to readjust a little bit. So press G again, scroll up with your mouse, get it kind of in place where you want it. E one more time, middle mouse button, you're gonna zoom in, get up some more. Till it's right about center. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be anything crazy. You're just gonna mess with it a little bit, get it to where you want it, make sure that's all good. So from here, what you wanna do is click on your circle, go down to your data, path animation, use clamp. Clamp just stops it from going past the end of the curve, helps prevent anything. So in our camera view, once again, if we go back to our camera view, press the space bar, you can see we're now tracking around our image or our model. I think looks good there. Back to 0. That's all good. I think looks nice. Okay. Camera. Okay. So you've got your rig set up, and then you can go in and subdivide this, make it a little smoother, just so the track it's following is smoother. But from here, you're going to want to start adding your lights. So what I like to do is I go to the side view, Shift A, add my first light in. You're going to do an area light. You're going to drag this up, set the size to 2, set this to 1 million, change your shape to a disc, scale it up. Because we're going to render this in cycles, you're going to want a pretty hefty light source. So now if we go to our shading tab, because it just looks better in the shading tab, then we go to scene lights. Back down into our object properties there. And as you can see, we have a good light source. So back to layout. For doing kind of product display stuff, I like to have lights on all four sides, including the top. All you're going to do is in your side views, Shift D, copy your light source. You're going to do this 4 times all the way around. Make sure you copy the right one. D, bring it over. Then that. So now if we go back to our shading tab so we can see our render, it looks pretty good. So from here, if we go back into our camera view, then we go into, we didn't have to go to layout. If we go to our camera view and shading, nope. Then we go around, you can see we're tracking it. Everything looks nice. You're getting a nice circular rig around everything. Next thing you're going to want to do, or what I like to do, is under your light settings, I leave these, the top light, I leave as a bright white color. And then from here, it really just depends on what you want, but I like to do just a blue, and then you can copy your hex code and then just bring that into all of the other lights. So now you have a nice bluish color tone, adds a little bit of to it, makes it look a little prettier. And then for rendering, your render settings, what you're going to want to do, so we're in cycles, you're doing a GPU compute, don't use your CPU. Don't do that. I mean, you can, it's going to take forever. Don't do that. So one of the things I like to do is I set my viewport samples to 256. For most everything I'm modeling, it works. For your render, I do 128. Again, it's going to depend on how much you're rendering, things like that, but this looks clean enough without needing to be over-engineered and take far too long. Set your denoise. For your render settings under denoise, I do GPU. Again, just makes everything a little faster. And then for motion blur, I turn motion blur off. Then from there, what you're going to want to do is go to your output settings, make sure your end is at 200, wherever you're going to put it, and then make sure it's saved as a FFmpeg. And then later on, you can convert it to an MP4 and all that. So the last thing you want to do is go to render image, just to see what you're going to get. Looks pretty clean. Everything looks nice. Took about 4 seconds to render this frame for me. So all in all, it's pretty quick. It's pretty simple. I spent a lot of time learning how to set up the lighting and what works right for me, but this seems to work pretty well for me. And then for what I'm doing, the 200 frame works. That gives you about an 8-second video. So with that, it's the end of the video. I hope you guys all learned something. I hope this helps you. If there's any issues or something you feel like I missed, something that needs more explanation, go ahead, ask a question in the comments, and I will update and make sure that your questions get answered. With that, take care of yourselves. I'll see you all next time.